I don't remember the Bible ever really mentioning weed, although
Or mushrooms, the guy said. I go, no,
well,
get out of
mushrooms
here.
are weed. I mean, if you watch like Joe Rogan and a lot of these podcasts now, the whole idea that all religion from all time, that all spirituality was basically informed by hallucinogens. That's a big, that's a very prevalent idea in today's kind of manosphere, or whatever you want to call it,
Yeah, right.
the brosphere, whatever this whole idea that it's everywhere that hey, listen, man, mushrooms are good, psychedelics are good in a in a controlled way, and people have been using them for thousands of years, and there is some truth to what they say that people have been using hallucinogens for thousands of years, okay? But all I'm trying to say is this, is I think common sense says this: God didn't say that we have to use drugs to see him or talk to him. So if you're saying to me that we have to have mushrooms, or we have to get high, or we have to do something to experience God, I'm going to disagree with you 100%.
Yeah.
Okay? That's all I'm going to say. Can you take a mushroom, or can you get high? Can you drink? Can you take drugs but still love Christ and still be seeking him? Yeah, I'm sure there's a part of that journey that maybe you're doing all that, right? I would say that it's common sense as well that a lot of people, when they start to use drugs, it takes over their life and it kills them. We can
Hmm.
all say that, right? That's common sense. So if I'm like, as a father or as a friend or as somebody, as an uncle or whoever, like I'm looking at my nephews or my kids, or I'm looking at friends that use drugs, and I see them beating their wives. I've had friends that have, literally almost killed their wives, have been, abusing their families. I've seen people crash cars, lose their jobs, lose their lives. Um, I have a family member who drank so much that and when he tried to quit, he had seizures, and all. He's almost died a numerous amount of times. Why would I want anybody to even ever touch that stuff?
Hmm.
And the Bible doesn't say that you can't drink. It literally, Jesus made wine. Paul says to Timothy, "Hey, take some wine for your stomach." But it does say, "Don't be drunk on wine, but be drunk on the Holy Spirit." So I guess the concept, the idea is to don't seek being high through drugs. Seek elevation. Seek the highest happiness you can get through God. All right. So I think that's a safe claim. Like, instead of saying, okay, I got drugs here, I can go this route and they make me feel good and I like them and I'm going to go that route. Instead, God says, no, seek me. Don't be addled by drugs, but seek me, and I'll give you the experience that you have always craved for. I'll give you the best life you could ever. I think drugs can be an impediment to that.
Me
And
too.
but I'm not pointing my finger if a drug is legal. Um, and the Bible doesn't says not to abuse drinking. So obviously, it doesn't want you to be completely intoxicated. Even if you say it's okay to be intoxicated, if you want to take drinking and say, well, weed's the less dangerous than drinking, then you could say, well, don't abuse it. The Bible certainly doesn't want you to abuse drugs in any way. So I'm not going to tell anybody they can't take a legal drug. I'm just not going to say it. And you know, a lot of people, I've heard some scholars say, and I'm not sure 100%, but that the word, when they use sorcery or witchcraft in the Bible, that it's a Greek word for pharmaceuticals, and that
Mm.
sometimes, and I've heard that said as well. I mean, you'd have to do your own research on that, but they literally say that when they're talking about sorcery, they're actually talking about pharmaceuticals, but I don't know. But there's people that will say that Jesus and all the disciples were dropping acid, that they were all like on shrooms or some kind of drug, and that the Greeks did it, that the Aztecs did it, that they're still doing it, and that the early church was all informed by psychedelics. But honestly, I did psychedelics when I was a kid, and I don't know. I wouldn't ever want to do anything on psychedelics anymore, man. Honest,
Mhm.
like for me personally, I can't, I couldn't function on them. I did them to be crazy and wild, and I didn't care about my life. I would never want to try to, but I'm not an expert on drugs, and I don't want to focus the conversation about whether drugs are right. Okay, and I'm not saying you're saying that, but if people are looking at this and going, "Oh, I'm going to argue about weed and drinking," and I don't want to argue about that. All I'm
Yeah.
saying, my position is that you don't need drugs to seek God. And I think everybody could probably agree with that. And the second thing I would say is that certain drinking and drugs, some drugs kill millions of people and destroy lives. So how do you know whether you can handle it or not? Like, because for instance, when I grew up, I started drinking when I was 14 or 15, right? And we get hammered all the time, you know. You find whatever you could to get drunk, and then started get smoking weed, and then started taking acid and speed and everything we could get our hands on, right? And I had like there was like 4 or 5 of my really closest friends, and then I had a lot of peripheral friends that are dead now. And then out of my group of really close friends, 3 of them became alcoholics and totally destroyed their entire lives. Totally destroyed it. Me, I just drank to get drunk. I didn't really like drinking, so it was easy for me to quit,
Mhm.
honestly. And I mean, it just never took me over. For me though, my drug is food, so it's not like I get addicted to a lot of things. It's easy for me, but I'm just saying, it was easy for me to quit. But how do you know if you're not that one person who can't quit, who gets in there? I mean, I think it's really dangerous. And I feel bad for the friends that I used to do all those drugs with, the ones that lost their lives and the ones that destroyed their lives. And I got out of it and they didn't. And it wasn't any because I was great or because I'm a great guy. It was just I wasn't as addicted to the as they were. And how do you
Mhm.
know you're rolling that dice, man? How do you know that
Yeah.
you're not going to take a hit of something or other and go crazy? Because that can
Yeah.
happen too.
Well, I think that's why it triggered me, the comment, not up to anger, but just of like total rejecting the whole premise.
Yeah.
And if people want to argue with me, go ahead, because uh there's not an 0.01% of me that can be convinced that any drug or drink is Christ-like or godly. And I'll hear it, but will never agree with it. I've been there, I've done it.
Yeah.
Uh, Tony was so honest and so kind to be so honest about his history. Now you're looking at a man right now who did cocaine and heroin for some years, man.
Mm.
You know, and I'm just being real. And there's nothing but the devil in it. There's nothing in the devil in it. And that's just how I feel. And then you have things like psychedelics where people go, oh, like, and I'm going back away from Christianity now because this is where I first came introduced to it with meditation and all that stuff. Oh, the ayahuasca and tripping and all this stuff. It gives you connection to the divine and opens up your inner child and all this stuff. Man, that stuff's bullshit. I just don't, I'm sorry, excuse my language. It's an excuse. It's an excuse. You want to get high, just go get high. Don't say it's about God. Don't say it's about meditation. Don't say it's about enlightenment. That's a crock of nonsense. You're trying to fool yourself, and you can fool yourself all you want, but you can't fool God. So
Mm.
people can argue with me if you want. You say whatever you want, but once again, remember, you're talking to a guy who kicked heroin and cocaine, IV.
Right.
Let's just be clear here. Let's just be totally clear. So just understand who you're talking to. If you want to go down that road, it's the devil, it's the demons. It's gonna open up that door for the
Mm.
devil to get in, and once he gets in, it's hard to get his claws out. The only way to get his claws out is leaning back into Jesus, and the only way you're gonna do that is through clarity. The only way you're gonna get clarity is if you quit the damn drugs.
Yeah.
Drugs and drinking bring temporary bliss. Closeness with Christ brings eternal bliss.
Yes. Awesome.
That is the whole point of it, right there.
Yeah.
To me. And you ain't gonna tell me none of that is none of that. Now, am I guilty sometimes? Yes, that's my sinful nature. That's not me. But one thing after I do, I know that I yearn to get back with Christ. I know that I can't continue that down that road, or the things that we all talked about are the things that are going to happen. And I do think, honestly, just on a side note, with the take some wine for your stomach thing, we have to look at the times. We have to look at the history of this thing.
Yeah.
Whether they was on psychedelics or not, it was probably peyote or mushroom or something very natural and close to the world. And when they were on wine, it was fermented grape, and it was a nutritional value. They didn't have as much wide variety of diet that we have, where we can import things from all over the world, vegetables and fruits, and get that nutritional value, or just take a multivitamin or a vitamin that we need for a specific problem. Back then, I even know with the Vikings, like mead, yeah, they were drunk all day, but they drank that mead for nutritional value. It was almost like sometimes they skip meals or miss meals, but that mead had a lot of nutritional value. And the same thing with the wine. Now you can't even drink American wine. They add chemicals and preservatives and stuff that will kill you in it. So
Yeah.
you drinking a glass of wine today, especially if it's American, is not like drinking a wine that Paul was telling whoever he told to have for a stomach problem. So I think that's something to take into consideration now, whether it is mushrooms or peyote or something that they literally just come down and take off a plant, or something that's been in a lab all over the place, touch all different dark hands and dark alleys, and you don't really know what's in it. It's a
Sure.
lot different than an Indian going and taking a peyote off a cactus and ingesting it. A lot different. And the same thing with marijuana or alcohol. If you're taking it off the plant, you're drying it, you're smoking it, or it's going through all these hands through all these different countries, who knows really what's in it?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what's in it. The devil. It's the devil's lettuce. And the same thing with the alcohol.